But here's the thing, we have got to be responsible for our own retirement. And not because it benefits me. I mean, let's just put it that you.
No, I love it. I hear you. I'm watching you step on the soapbox, and I want to hear you preach it, baby. Preach it. Talk to us about this, because I think it's true. I think there's accuracy to this. So preach it.
So you're going to live longer, because you're going to live longer than your parents. You're healthier. You've got better access to healthy food for the most part, and you take good care of yourself. And you go to a gym. You've got medical care. You've got so many advantages over human beings before us. So we're probably going to live longer. And I've done the math on this quite a long time ago, but if you have $100,000 saved, you might think, wow, I have a lot of money. $100,000 is a lot of money. But if you're 59 and a half and you know you're going to live till you're 86 and a half, and so you're going to take like an even monthly distribution, every month until then, it's only $400 a month.
Yes, okay.
So you need a lot of money to retire.
I am Christina Suter, and this is the Real Estate Breakthrough Show, where we talk about the reality of real estate, the mindset you need in order to face the reality of what it is, and tips and tricks to get you moving forward in investing. I am your host, Christina Suter. Hi there, my name is Christina Suter, and welcome to the Real Estate Breakthrough Show. Today I have Kaaren Hall with me. So I'm super excited that I have Kaaren Hall to be able to talk with us. She is with uDirect, which is her own company. And I really appreciate Kaaren. Yes, there's the sign behind her. I really appreciate Kaaren because, she is a woman in this field where she's really cultivated her company to work with real estate investors and real estate professionals in being able to self-direct their IRA. And really, I would say the primary reason for you to choose to self-direct would be, in my world, is to invest in real estate. I don't know if other people have a different world as to why self-directing is so important and why it's such a great process for leveraging your own retirement money. But in my world, it's real estate. So Kaaren Hall, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about uDirect.
I'll tell you what, we've been around 11 years. So we started in 2009, and we've got over $500 million under management now. So it's not my money, it's our clients' money.
No, but it's $500 million under management. It's serious. You have truly grown.
Well, the thing of it is that like that's that many people who are taking their retirement and investing it outside of Wall Street and building some real equity that they can have later on. So it's super exciting.
That is great. You worked for other companies before you started your own company.
I worked for one other self-directed IRA company. I did a lot of other things before I did this, but I worked for one self-directed IRA company, and I was with them for a couple years, and then I launched out and opened up my own company during the recession.
During the recession. Girl, you're crazy. Why would you open your own company during the recession? Explain this to me.
Best time to do it. Well, first off, it turned out to be great because people couldn't find money at banks, right? So banks weren't lending. So where are you going to find money, right? You need money to invest. So self-directed IRAs represent like a $30 trillion pool of capital that today they do. So if you're raising capital, you don't need a bank loan. Find someone with an IRA or a 401k with a previous employer. They don't even know it. Boom, they can invest in your deal. And you're telling them they can do it, and they don't even believe it, but you've been able to do this for 45 years, nothing new.
Yeah, it's actually not that new. It's the information that is new. It is the distribution of the information and professionals where that's what they do that I think is new. Because if you ask your stock professional, hey, by the way, or even your company that you're leaving and they're handing you for your IRA or your pension fund, and they're handing it to you, and it's like, oh, can I direct this myself? It's like, no, of course you can't. Can I put it in something other than stocks? No, that would be fiduciarily unsound, but it's not illegal, and you're absolutely capable of doing it. Right. And it is fiduciarily sound if you choose to educate yourself in the process, and that's where you come in. Both the level, huh?
You're hired.
I'm hired. Well, I've just been in the field for a long time, and you've come to my meeting a couple of times. I've heard you speak a couple of times now about this particular topic, so maybe I'm just regurgitating what I've heard you say. Maybe that's why I sound like you. But no, I think it's absolutely actually pretty important because, I've invested in stocks and real estate, honestly, almost all my life. I started investing in stocks when I was 9. Very weird story, but a good story. And then I ended up getting more in my teens, and then I ended up getting a house when I was 17. And so I kind of ended up unintentionally in both assets. I've always preferred real estate. I've always preferred the self-directed. I've always preferred I direct it. I own it, I direct it, I manage it, I have control over it, and I have control over my returns. And, you know, real estate market goes up and down, especially since 2000. The real estate market has seemed to me like it's pretty much, it's changed its nature and tone because of the tech bubble, but not because of the bubble, but because of what the tech bubble brought was greater and easier access to the stock market. And it has changed the speed and velocity and the stability of the stock market. It's
right.
Even
it changes
now.
On a dime, doesn't it?
It changes on a dime, and it's the market makers. It's not the little guys like you and me. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm a little guy. I'm not confused on this. I don't control billions of dollars in the stock market, which is what it would take to be able to be a market maker. And I am not that person.
Well, you know, we have our own little teeny market. It's our own sphere of influence, and you know, we've got. Anyway, we're all building our wealth, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we are. We're all trying to build our wealth. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about, you know, we're in the time of COVID right now. Why don't you talk to me about COVID and how COVID has really, one, there's some codes, but also it has affected the way people are participating with their self-directed accounts. Sometimes, you know, so talk to me about COVID. Talk to me about COVID and restrictions. Go ahead.
Sure, it's changed a little bit. I mean, I think when COVID first hit, I'll say it was St. Patrick's Day, because that was the day that a lot of my staff started working from home, you know, and so that's about the day. And so March, April, no one knew what's going on. We don't know what is this, and so everything just slowed way the heck down. No one was making really any moves until they knew what was happening, if they could get the lay of the land. So March and April were slow, but then May starts picking up. May, June, July, you know, throughout. All the way till now, it's just better and better and better. So that's good, because I think people are feeling more confident about what they want to do. The stock market is a huge roller coaster. We see it, you know, up 400, down 800, and then level for a long time, and just nuts lately, especially in an election year. So I think a lot of people feel like, hey, not only are there's always opportunities, but are there going to be opportunities? Am I going to do this and hold it for later? Do I want to take my money out of the stock market, put it in a self-directed IRA where it's going to be stable, and then take advantage of whatever discounts come up in the future, assuming they do? I had a really nice conversation today about, you know, the eviction laws and how that might affect real estate and the availability of properties and things like that. So, but the way COVID has changed IRAs is with, I would think with the CARES Act.
Okay.
I forgot what the acronym means. Yeah, but I have an article about it on my website if you want to look up the blog. But a couple of
things.
There'd
be uDirect.com.
Yeah, uDirect.
IRA.com. Okay, good. Just getting that in there. Just getting that in there. Well, because you have a lot of really good articles there, so I think people should go there, because there's a lot of educational material that people, you know, you're very, very knowledgeable in your field, and you're very willing to share your knowledge, which is part of why I have you on my show. But a lot of that information is there. So I think people should know that that's there for a resource.
Right, awesome. And so with the CARES Act, two things really impacting us right now. One thing is, if you or someone you know is in the RMD phase, required minimum distribution phase, meaning you're like 70 and a half or older, and you have a retirement account, you have to take a minimum distribution every year. But in 2020, you don't. Okay, so in 2020, for just this tax year, you don't have to take an RMD, which is really good news if you don't need to take an RMD. You can let your money sit there and roll till the next year, and, you know, use it in a future year. And also, when you take an RMD, you have to pay tax on that. So if you don't have to take it, you don't have to pay tax. So yay, so you can just extend it another year. That's good. Another thing that's impacting people until the end of the year is something called the CRD. That's the coronavirus related distribution. And so what that means, it's like two worlds, IRAs and 401ks. So for IRAs, what it means is that you can withdraw from your IRA up to $100,000, and you're going to get a 1099. Okay, so you're going to pay tax on it, but you've got 1, 2, 3 tax years to pay that back.
Okay, okay.
Now, why would you rob from your future self? I couldn't tell you. I think you should save. I don't think you should touch your IRA, in my opinion, because gosh, we're going to need it later, I promise you. But if you need to, if that's what you have to do, you got to break the piggy bank. No one wants to do that. But if you need to, you can. And you have 3 years to realize a tax consequence, assuming you can prove you've been affected by COVID. Okay? That's their requirements. So I just read my article. It's all
How do you prove that you've been affected by COVID?
I know it's kind of tough. It's nebulous, isn't it? But yeah, job loss or income loss or whatever. There are so many different ways. Maybe you personally got sick and couldn't work, or your business shut down, or lots of ways that were affected by COVID. And so that's between you and the IRS. I don't think they're really going to audit this too heavily. I don't know. I don't think they will, but that's my opinion. That's all it is.
Ask your tax person. I didn't mean to devalue. You were moving on to something else. I apologize.
Yes.
Go ahead.
CRD. So we talked about the IRA. So $100,000, you get 1099, so you have to pay tax, but you have 3 years to pay that tax back, okay? The other side is the 401k side, different world. IRAs and 401ks are different things. So with the 401k, you can already take a $50,000 loan. It's $50,000 or 50% of the account value, but now that's bumped up to $100,000.
Okay.
And you still have to pay your 401k back, but you are allowed to take a loan of up to $100,000 from your 401k. So, that's what that's the coronavirus related distribution. That's what it is in a nutshell. We can go deep on it. If somebody wants to call me and go deep on it, we can do that. But that's enough to keep it interesting.
Well, it's enough to keep people educated on what they need to know and how they can use that. Because are people, I don't know. I know that I was going to ask, I assume it's not just self-directed that you can do these loans against. It's all IRAs, all 401ks.
All of them. Yeah. An IRA and a self-directed IRA, it's the same thing. It's an IRA. What makes it self-directed, of course, is the asset that you put in that bucket. So an IRA is an IRA. Yeah.
Right. Well, and who your fiduciary is. What makes it
your custodian.
Who your custodian is. Thank you. Thank you for the right word. So, because like I said, if in the past, couple stories, but I'll try to stick to this one, which is, in the past, if you wanted to move your IRA, which we talked a little bit about, the answer was no, you can't do that because it has to be in investment assets. And if you move it away from a stockbroker, it won't be in investment assets. Well, that's an older story. The newer understanding is no, real estate is absolutely an active asset that you can engage in.
It is.
As long as you don't use it for your own self benefit. That's the right word.
No benefit, present benefit, indirect benefit. You just save it for later. It's all about retirement. That money is all about retirement. But you were talking about real estate, and people love it, but there are other assets like performing and non-performing debt, right? So you can buy, that and then get it reperforming and sell it and have fun with that and, follow all the rules. You can also lend money and be the bank. So now your IRA is lending money. Maybe you've got a friend who's doing a ground up construction project and they are raising capital and they're taking on debt. So you can lend money to them and help them build their building. And then their building is built and they sell it and they pay your IRA. Lots of different reasons you can lend money with your IRA, secured and unsecured. Also securities, like crowdfunding, private placements, syndications. It's all sort of the same word for private stock. It comes in many different varieties. Usually you have to be accredited. Now those laws have been sort of expanded to a little, relaxed a little bit. And so you can invest in those kinds of assets too. In fact, private equity is probably the #1 asset in self-directed IRAs in our industry as a whole. That's the #1.
I'm not surprised, but I'm glad to hear that. Because when I work with my clients, like, well, I have this IRA money and I have this money for myself, and what should I do with my IRA money? And I'm like, well, IRA money is great long-term horizon money. And since you can't really actively manage any of the real estate you have that's in your IRA, because that would be some version of self-benefit, then that distance ownership, right, like you said, of the private stock, that distant ownership is ideal for your IRA or your 401k. It's most of those are long-term horizons, 5 years to 10 years. They're going to give you some cash flow. They're going to give you some bump at the end, and all that's going to be tax deferred. because
Pretty
it's
much. So
all
yeah,
inside
I mean,
IRA.
it can be taxed. I just got to throw this in there. There are two kinds of taxes in IRA.
Good girl, good girl. Make it right, make it right. Go for it.
That's my job. So
That's
it's UBIT and UDFI. You can go to irs.gov, their website, publication 598. That's where you'll find the details of your IRA can be taxed. But yes, in fact, notes are the same way too. If you do a long-term note, if you get payments every month, it has some of the same benefits without having an active role in real estate. So people like that too. But we just see every kind of asset and precious metals lately going through the roof. A lot of people investing in precious metals. So we open accounts to do that too and store the metals with Delaware Depository primarily.
Oh, okay, good. There's it's nice to know there's a protocol for that, because some people actually want to do precious metals and some people want to do stocks in precious metals, which is a different process than investing in precious metals.
It is like certificated gold and that kind of thing, right? And we don't sell any assets. So you don't come to uDirect IRA investing in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, because we're not selling any assets or recommending any assets, but just like it says uDirect. So you tell us what you want to do, and then you direct us, and then we process that and do the administrative work and get your money out into that deal.
So what's the reality you're finding? What's the I love where the rubber meets the road. What's the reality you're finding? You said it was quiet in March and April, but now actually activity has really picked up. And
Yes.
Why are you finding the activity has picked up in COVID when everybody's in lockdown? And the expectation was that COVID would lock up real estate till COVID was done because nobody wanted to do anything and blah, blah, blah. And that's not what you're seeing on the street. So tell us what's really happening.
Well, there are so many reasons, but I think one of the reasons is a lot of people have lost their jobs. We know that. So when you change jobs and you have a 401k or a 457 or a 403b with your old employer, then you can roll it over and invest.
Okay.
And so you make the decision. Do I want to put it in the stock market? Do I want to put it in, Wall Street or Main Street is a lot of times the choice. So we see a tremendous amount of people rolling over their previous employer plans into self-directed IRAs now, looking for opportunities, and there are just so many. So that's one thing. I'm not a realtor, of course, but a realtor friend of mine was telling me about the pent-up demand. Everybody was in their house and they don't like their house, so they want to go buy real estate, and residential, resale is pretty huge right now. It's pretty crazy. And I'm in Orange County, and it's just off the charts. So people are buying houses right now, and I guess rates are really low. But when it comes to investment property, opportunities are always there.
That's what I was going to ask was, people buying houses, but investment properties. So the reason why you feel like it's been busy for you is that people are relocating because they've lost jobs, or is there more in there?
Right. Well, I mean, when you lose your job, whether you relocate or not, but they're relocating the money. They're taking it out.
The money.
Yeah.
You said that, and it didn't. Obviously, you can tell I'm tired. That obviously didn't enter my brain because I heard relocate, not relocate the money.
Relocate the money.
Relocate the money. Okay.
Anyway, so people want, the stock market or do something I can control. I mean, that's American. We're the rugged individualist. We want to take action ourselves, and no one's going to tell me what to do. And that's what self-directed IRAs are all about. You are making a lot of decisions and choices about where your money is going to be invested. People like real estate and metals because you can touch them. They're tangible. They're tangible, and that's. That's a good thing. Like a stock can evaporate and be nothing. It doesn't usually happen, but it can. So.
Oh, it can. I mean, it's, one of the old statements I heard many, many years ago when I was a young investor, but I think it's still accurate is, if you were to throw a dart at a stock page, right, there's a good chance that in 20 to 30 years, that stock isn't going to be there anymore. But if you have a piece of real estate in 20 or 30 years, there's a really good chance that piece of real estate is still going to be there.
I like that.
Right. So, but people don't usually hold stocks for 20 or 30 years. I know people who do, but most people don't.
Well, long-term hold. Oh, everybody has a different game. Some people are day traders. Like you were mentioning the technology that's, created a lot of that, which created a lot of the volatility. But some people are just tired of the roller coaster, want to get off. And now that it's at a high, they want to park their money before another downturn and then invest it when the opportunities come up in the next downturn. And depending upon which guru you listen to, I mean, most of them I'm hearing are saying, yep, there's going to be a downturn. So we'll just see.
We'll see. We'll see. I listen to my guru tapes, kind of binge. I do like this binge, and then I stop listening for a little bit and I do a binge. And so I'm between binges right now, and I need to get back to my binging on economic gurus, because, you know, for a long time we heard a lot of like, oh, this isn't going to work. This is going to be so tough. This is going to be so hard. But then, you know, you take the economic stimulus packages that they've been putting out, and you take the amount of, like, the IMF did research project where they believe that us and Japan and several other first world countries were going to lose 5 to 6% of our GDP in the full year of COVID. And you take that and you multiply that times our 5%, times our GDP, you end up with something between $5 or $6 trillion, and we put $2 trillion of it back in, right?
Yeah,
so, and we front loaded it, right? We front loaded that $2 trillion. So we're not seeing the effects economically of COVID that we would see if we hadn't put forward this, you know, these huge economic plans. And we're talking about doing another one, right? $900 to people who are applying for unemployment. So, you know, this is going to be something that's going to be interesting to see how it really does unfold, and whether or not, how soon this recession is going to be coming. Because I would have said, absolutely, this is going to be the black swan. This is going to be the creator of our recession. You know, not to get too much into economics, I'll put this little piece out and then I'll be quiet. Don't talk about economics around Christina, you know.
Do what you want, yeah.
Okay, very sweet. But I keep watching small businesses. You know, I keep watching the small businesses, because you know, it used to be 53%, and I believe more current numbers is the 49% of our, basically people who are employed by small businesses. Definition of a small business is 500 people, employees or less, and 93% of small businesses employ 10 people or less. Right. So when you talk about people's capacity to make it through COVID and businesses to make it through COVID, it's not the big guys I'm worried about that are hiring the other 50%. It's the small guys that have 10 employees or less who don't have a big savings, and they don't have IRAs, and they don't have money, you know, saved up to tap into, right? So they're reliant on the PPP loans, and they're reliant on the, I'm going to say it wrong, idle, thank you. I keep thinking idle, but like idling a car, but it's the wrong letter, because idling a car starts with an I, right? They can rely on the idle loan. So I keep watching that number, right? That effect, but you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well, you know, when you talk about current events and things that you hear on the forefront, like what might happen, one of the things is you hear maybe they're going to do away with Social Security. If they take away employment tax, could take away Social Security, and I think that would be, I think people will be grandfathered. I don't know. But here's the thing, we have got to be responsible for our own retirement. And not because it benefits me. I mean, let's just put it that you. No,
I love it. I hear you. I'm watching you step on the soapbox, and I want to hear you preach it, baby. Preach it. Talk to us about this, because I think it's true. I think there's accuracy to this. So preach it.
So you're going to live longer, because you're going to live longer than your parents. You're healthier. You've got better access to healthy food for the most part, and you take good care of yourself, and you go to a gym, you've got medical care, you've got so many advantages over human beings before us. So we're probably going to live longer. And I've done the math on this quite a long time ago, but if you have $100,000 saved, you might think, wow, I have a lot of money. $100,000 is a lot of money. But if you're 59 and a half and you know you're going to live till you're 86 and a half, and so you're going to take like an even monthly distribution, you know, every month until then, it's only $400 a month.
Yes. Okay. So
you need a lot of money to retire.
Okay. So 80. So what, how many years was that? Was it 25 years you just projected out? Right. Yeah. So $100,000.
Assuming no gain or loss.
Divided by 25 is $4,000 a year.
Is that what it is?
Divided by 12 is $333 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Not a lot of money.
Not a lot of money. And elder care is generally $4,000 to $5,000 a month. To be able to afford being in an elder care facility. So
what we're saying is maybe it's not a great economic time for you right now, but when it is, because it will be, you know, things are run in cycles, but you know, goes up and down. So, but just know, like get insurance, you know, I'm not even an advisor, I don't sell insurance, but you want to take care of yourself. And with self-directed IRAs, when you're investing in these long-term hold assets, then you're starting to build that. So when you're ready, when you're you know, 59 and a half, you can take it out without penalty. Okay. And by the way, with the CRD, the coronavirus related distribution, that withdrawal is also without penalty, by the way. But when you're 59 and a half, you can take money out of your retirement account without penalty. And when you reach now 72 and so forth, then you have to take it out. But you just want to make sure you save as much as you possibly can, so you've got, you know, more for later when you're too old to work. Frankly, you know, take care of your future self today. So important.
It's so important. And when you talk about, you know, Social Security is at risk, people, you know, like you said, they need to figure out a way to unravel that Social Security. Not necessarily, I'm not saying they have to make it disappear, but they need to find a way to be fiscally responsible to the fact that there are more people on Social Security and getting more distributions going out than distributions coming in. And yes, that comes and goes, right? It comes and goes based upon each decade, based upon the echo boomers, based upon the boomers, based upon who's feeding into it and who's taking out of it. But your whole example of Social Security was built when people didn't live so long. And so it was built with the concept that there wasn't going to be so much money going out for so many years, right? Because people live longer now. And so we're reliant on people feeding it in, and it's eventually not going to work. It's a system that mathematically is heading towards being broken.
Well, I don't know about you, but ever since I was a teenager, you know, I've heard, don't depend on Social Security. It's not going to be there when you retire.
Right.
And now I'm not a teenager, you know, and my kids aren't teenagers. So now and I've always thought that, not to depend on Social Security, but, you know, depend on yourself. And that's what we help you do. And it's not just self-directed IRAs. It's so many different ways, but you've got to save for later.
You've got to save. You've got to save. And, you know, I mean, there's, you know, my husband gets his Social Security because he's older than I am, and he's retired officially, and he's gotten Social Security for years. But, you know, he worked for 30 years, 40 years, mid-level management. He worked as a government subcontractor. And, you know, thank goodness he gets Social Security and a pension plan. Because if he didn't have Social Security and a pension plan, it would be really hard on him to be able to support himself, pay rent or pay his mortgage, and eat. Like literally it took both to make sure he could pay his mortgage and eat.
And forget about medicine and clothing.
Yeah, forget about exactly. Just forget about medicine, clothes, you know, car payment, insurance. Like it was just, you know. So I think it is particularly important that people do save and do keep their savings under their control, whether it's, you know, in an IRA facility or whether it's in their control, but they need to be saving their asset base to support them in the future, period.
And if you think that there are going to be some opportunities in the future, and I think there will be, you know, stick the money away, get it ready, and be prepared so that you can attack. I mean, during the recession, the old one, the one in 07, 08, 09, it's
the Great Recession, yes.
The Great Recession.
The Great Recession, not the one that's coming now.
But people with cash were able to take advantage of that. I remember how they were selling houses on tapes, REO tapes, and
yes,
you could just buy 100 at a slew, and that was short. I mean, it was probably a year and a half or so, but I mean, the people with cash could take advantage of those deals, and they're sitting pretty right now. So
there, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to change the topic just a little bit. So speaking of retirement and speaking of savings for retirement, so, you know, you worked for other companies and then you decided to open your own company, which is pretty risky in my mind. Why would you be a crazy lady who wouldn't go back into the stability of a W-2 of working for somebody else? Why run your own company? And really, I mean, you've been hammering it since you opened your doors. Was it, she said 2012, is that right?
2009.
2009. So for 11 years, you've been hammering it as an entrepreneur.
Right.
Why hammer it as an entrepreneur? Why not just pull in the W-2?
I think it was just meant to be, you know, it's my personality, it's everything. I mean, just in preparation met opportunity, and boom, you know, created this company and been able to hire some really awesome people. And again, that's the reason. But when you are a W-2 employee, you give away things that you don't have, but also it's not on your shoulders. When you are the CEO, I mean, it's on your shoulders, and you're taking care of people's, you know, their livelihoods, and they spend most of their waking hours with you and your employees, and responsible, you know, healthcare and things like that, making sure that they're taken care of. And also lots of other responsibilities, taxes, and oh gosh, what kind of
Marketing.
insurance I have for my
Let's
company.
talk about marketing and making sure the company brings in enough money to pay the employees that you have promised that you're going to give them a wage to take home.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Like, why? That to me is one of the greatest weights on the shoulders of an entrepreneur. It is not the personal opinion. It's not the being an expert in your business. It's not knowing what you're passionate about. You already are that. If you've chosen to be an entrepreneur in a particular model, you probably already are passionate about that model. You're probably already an industry expert, or at least an expert, even if you're not recognized as one. You probably know your field relatively well before you open a business of your own in the field. What stands to me, which I've seen so many entrepreneurs struggle with, and what would take them back and drive them back to the W-2 is the responsibility of the leadership of paying yourself and paying your employees in your company month after month after month. There you go, lights back on again. Perfect. And that's the weight that you live with.
Yes.
Right? That's the, and that would be, why I'm like, well, why do you keep doing it? And you said it's because your personality, it's who you are.
It's literally who I am. And you talk about marketing, and that's another one of the responsibilities, is to making sure that there's always, new people coming in the door, which is to say new clients, new customers. We're helping new people, and that we're getting the word out so that people who need our service can find us. And so there are so many ways to do that. We used to be able to meet in person. Remember that?
That? I remember meeting in person. That was kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, we had a great time. I saw a picture of that today. That was really fun. And so there's that. There's, of course, the podcasts that I've listened to so many. I heard Harry Dent the other day on a podcast talking. So awesome. So you can hear all sorts of great people talking in podcasts. That's wonderful. But it's social media. It's AdWords. It's even Microsoft has AdWords and SEO, and even snail mail. I mean, people are home and they're going and getting their mail out of the mailbox. So snail mail, everything. Maybe you have a banner made or something. It's just nonstop what you could do to market. I mean, maybe you can have like your own pen, like there you go. So it's just nonstop marketing. It is just ABM, always be marketing.
Always be marketing. And yet you seem to thrive under that. You seem to thrive under that leadership. I'm going to ask you two more questions. So you also are an investor. You don't own a lot of properties directly, but you've gotten the investment bug, it sounds like, at least enough. Is that correct?
It is. I have a house and I have rental property. And then I've also invested in, now that I'm, involved in the self-directed IRA business, I see a lot of opportunities come through. So I've invested in some of the opportunities, mostly that people in my circle are doing, like, they're raising capital, people I know really well, which is a great way to do that, because you have to do your due diligence before you invest. And when you've known someone for 10 years, you can feel really comfortable investing with them, a lot better. So I've invested with a lot of people in the real estate investor circle. And so different kinds of deals, debt and equity deals, and that's been good. So it's another stream of income. So
another stream of income. And so what is it that has you choose to investing? Is it the stream of income? Is it the passion to save? Is it, is it non-belief in Social Security? What is it?
Well, it's that for sure. It has to do with, there are a lot of benefits. I mean, what I've been doing is, like I kind of referred to earlier, is a lot of ground up stuff. So when I have a lot of friends doing ground up projects where they'll find a piece of property and just take it down to dirt and rebuild, and maybe take a single family home, make it into a fourplex, and there's forced equity. So you can see a deal, like you can see where you might make money. And so there are a lot of people are doing a lot of projects like that. So I like that ground up construction because of the future potential, but that's me. I mean, everybody has their own thing that they like, and that's what I like. And it's for the future. It's for retirement. I've always have an eye to that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you are in, IRAs, which is kind of a retirement vehicle. That's the intention of it. So I guess I shouldn't be too surprised of you having faith in creating and drafting one's own retirement. Oh, wait a minute. Controlling one's own financial future freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a great idea. What do you think?
It's a great idea, controlling one's own financial future freedom. So, so how does that, I'm going to ask, I've lied. I'm going to ask you now another two questions. So Sorry about that.
Okay.
So how does it feel to know that you're creating your own future financial freedom?
Well, I mean, it feels powerful. It feels good. It feels like, that it feels like being responsible and doing, and taking care, not just of myself, but of, I've got 2 kids. Obviously, they're adults now and they can do their own thing. But one day maybe they'll need something. But just to have a foundation, and also so that when I'm older and can't work, that I'm not dependent upon my children. That I've taken care of myself, and I'm not a burden on anyone else. So that's the plan. That's the plan.
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
It's a good plan. So I like to ask this question because both being an entrepreneur and being a real estate investor comes with a lot of ups and downs. It comes with really good days and it comes with some really, really freaking hard days. I can speak to really, really freaking hard days, and I suspect you can too. So, but what can come out of that is sometimes we learn some really important lessons and we're better people. Yeah. So can you tell us a story about a really, really freaking hard one and the lesson you learned, how to help you be a better human being?
Well, without going into too much detail.
I know you got, exactly. And without giving away, all names shall remain confidential. Right?
Yeah, we'll change the names.
Change the names of the innocent.
I think, learning patience. I mean, just the normal virtues that we learn, like as we get older and mature, patience, and try to slow down a little bit, and also appreciate, just appreciation for other people, but freaking hard things that I can talk about. Also a lot of times people will. We're in a customer service business, and sometimes people will call us and they have a question about their money, and everything's fine, but they're afraid. They're scared because we have their money and they don't have any power because we have their money, and they get scared. And so that's the first thing that we do is say, look, we're here to help you. This is going to get solved. But people really do come off, I mean, like 1 in 100 will come off really strong and really bark and be, nasty. And I just think people are getting a little bit edgier as the time goes on. So dealing with some edgy people and learning lessons from that, how to deal with that, how to handle difficult customers. Again, it's not every day, it's not even every week, but when we do, that's been a huge lesson.
When COVID slowed down and there was 2 months of like practically no activity, how'd you deal with that? I mean,
well, it was quiet, but I got a lot done. Which is the things that you put off, like actually cleaning that pile of paper on your desk, a lot of that.
Yeah, I know that one, yeah.
Yeah, and people worked from home. I mean, we just all sort of relaxed, but I'll tell you what, it was almost like the world was going so fast, so much travel, so much speaking, just go, go, go all the time. Kind of like I stopped the world, I want to get off. And it was a great moment for that to stop, and things slowed down, and it was nice to just take a reassessment of things and to really have more peace and more time. So that was kind of nice. I mean, normally I would travel 3 or 4 times a month, and I haven't been on an airplane since January, which is really odd. But guess what? I don't miss it. I mean, I really enjoy things I've been able to do. Like obviously, we can't spend a lot of time with friends because of COVID, but still small groups. Mm-hmm. And it's been kind of lovely to slow down a little bit. I think we've all, there are definitely bright sides to what we've been through, and I think that's one of them.
Yeah, COVID has definitely been COVID has been very odd. I feel like it's brought up some things. It's polarized our world, in my opinion, and it's brought up some things that are really good and some things that are really tough, right? I mean, you just look at Black Lives Matter, and you look at how people are deeply polarized about that. You look at COVID and even people's beliefs in COVID and how they treat COVID. The people are very diligent about it because they're an at-risk family, or people like, COVID, maybe it isn't even real. Come on, it's not really killing that many people in my age group, right? But in my husband's age group, it's it can be pretty detrimental because most of the deaths occur in people over 65. So I really feel like that it's, at least in the environment that I'm seeing, that there's a lot of polarity. I've had friends who were sick with cancer, friends who have family members who have passed. I mean, just it's been a very intense time. I mean, Southern California is on fire, like whole cities closing down. It's been very intense, but what I've seen out of it is this sort of like silver lining as well as this intensity. So I'm curious to see in the end how history is going to look back at COVID and how we managed it, not just fiscally, not just as a government, but as a human being. Human beings. Suicide is up higher than it's been in a while. The suicide rate has definitely shot up because it's really hard to sit with oneself. And it's really hard to sit with one's family. And so therefore people are moving a lot in COVID, which is the funny trait is,
Sure.
they
Shake
don't
it up,
want
do something new and
shake it up and do exactly. Shake it up and do something new because right now I'm feeling really stuck.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's always hope and there's something really good ahead. Like when you have a tough time, you know that it just is for a while and then it's going to be great on the other side. Just get through it.
Just gotta get through it. All right. If people want to get a hold of you, we know uDirectIRA.com. It is right there behind you. But if they want to talk to you, they want to call you, they want, tell us more.
866-538-3539. You can email me. It's just because it's easy, info@uDirectIRA.com. That's a good way to reach me.
All right, great. Give the phone number again.
866-538-3539. And we're in Irvine, California, so California time.
California time, that's good.
Yeah, it's not just me, got a whole staff of people to talk to and help you with your questions. Hey, can I do this? Does this fit in an IRA? That's what we do every day is talk to people about their deals.
And it's Kaaren Hall, K-A-A.
Oh gosh, I know, I was never so grateful for my name as I am right now because nobody wants to be a Kaaren,
Oh my gosh.
Notice that in my name, it's 2 A's, okay?
It's 2 A's, that's right. You're not a Karen, you're a Kaaren.
Oh,
Kaaren Hall.
yeah.
That's right,
Norwegian.
absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely, there you go. Okay, well, thank you for your time and your expertise and your stories. I appreciate it very much in this time of COVID. Hopefully you stay safe and sound and your children are staying relatively safe and sound. They would probably do fine even if they got COVID because that age group has been fine.
Yes.
But still, I hope for no sickness and no health. So stay well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to the Real Estate Breakthrough Show. My name is Christina Suter and I am your host. And tune in next week for more.